I'm Julie Saunders.
I'm Jan Wilson. Julie and I both have experience as school librarians, and we've worked together as district library leaders.
In each episode, we'll dive into our profession with interviews and meaningful content to inspire you. We're not experts,
but we're pretty close.
The ideas and opinions shared by any host, guest, or listener are their own and do not represent those of any respective school district.
Welcome to Library Exchange.
Georgia Specialty Equipment is proud to support the Library Exchange podcast. Whether you're outfitting your library with new furniture or creating a more comfortable learning space, GSE has the products you need to make it happen.
From custom shelving to seating solutions, GSE specializes in equipment that enhances school environments. Support for the Library Exchange brings valuable insights to school librarians, and with GSE, your library can be better than ever.
Visit www.gsequip.com or call 770-461-2090. Follow them on Facebook and Instagram for updates. How's it going, Jan?
Hey, Julie. Well, it's going well. It is a rainy night in Georgia.
Yes, it is.
So I have a question, and if it takes you a little while to answer, I'll edit the pause out, okay?
Okay.
Can you think of another song title that has the word Georgia in it?
Georgia on my mind.
Oh, look at you.
Even though I'm musically illiterate, I came up with an answer.
I thought I was going to stump you with that, but that's good. I don't have to do any editing. Our guest has the benefit of a little extra time to think about it while we introduce her. I'm making sure she's not Googling on her. Oh, she's opening up a new window. No, it's okay. You guys, today we're joined by elementary school librarian Sarah Sansbury. She's also worked as a middle school librarian as well. And then prior to that, she was an English teacher for 10 years.
She recently earned her educational doctorate with a focus on how the library media specialist impacts school improvement. She won the Roald Dahl Miss Honey Social Justice Award in 2022. And in 2023, she was the Library Media Specialist of the Year for her district. Welcome to Library Exchange, Sarah.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be here.
So, two things. One, should we refer to you as Dr. Sansbury?
Or you could do what my kindergartners say. They say Mrs. Dr. Sansbury.
That's cute. I mean, it kind of should be a requirement to throw the word doctor in there after all of the blood, sweat, and tears and time.
Absolutely.
That Mrs. Dr. Sansbury. Okay. And two, can you think of a song title with the word Georgia in it?
Okay, so this is maybe not what you're thinking about, but there is Alison Krauss's "Oh Atlanta, I Hear You Calling."
Oh,
no, that one. It doesn't say Georgia, but I mean,
and
Georgia. So,
and Sarah sang it.
Dang, Atlanta's in Georgia. I mean, Mrs. Dr. Sansbury can sing.
And sing.
Too. Okay, I'm accepting both of your answers. Okay.
Good one. To give everyone an idea of the community you serve.
Are we getting started now, Julie? Are we getting started?
Yes.
Okay.
I'm starting. I'm getting started now. To give everyone an idea of the community you serve, can you share the grade levels, enrollment, and any other information about your students and district?
Sure. I am in a Metro Atlanta district. My elementary school is preschool through 5th grade. It's a smallish school. It's around 500 students. And the school is a STEM school as well as a magnet school that holds a French immersion program. So lots of fun opportunities to contribute and collaborate.
So that was a great first question, Julie, but here's mine. So
Not a competition.
People don't know us well if they don't think we're not competitive. Anyway, Sarah, I know about your research and dissertation, but I'm going to ask this for our listeners and Julie. What the heck is a flywheel, and how does it apply to school libraries?
Good questions here.
Thank you.
Well, a flywheel, it is a weighted wheel. When you exert force on it and it starts to gain speed, it will store kinetic energy, so it will move on its own. So it's kind of like a build.
So it's a real It's a real mechanical thing.
It's a real mechanical thing, yes.
Okay.
But it is also something that's referred to in business. And the model I want to talk to today is actually going to be adapted from a digital marketing concept, which I think is interesting because we as librarians have to market ourselves all the time. We're marketing our library, we're marketing our programming, we're marketing what we can do as librarians for our school and for the education world. So the flywheel model, though, it has 3 stages to it, and it's about attracting, engaging, and delighting and inspiring your customers or your patrons. I would love to tell you more about how you can do that in your library.
Yes. So we do want to hear more. And I'd love to start with how you attract patrons using this flywheel momentum concept.
Awesome. Well, I think it's interesting if you read up on the people that developed the digital marketing concept. They say this attract stage is when you present real and true value to your customers. That kind of really helps you kind of know what to do for attracting your customers, your patrons. I would also add you want to reduce or remove any real or perceived barriers to them achieving that value or gaining that value. So, like, for instance, keeping the library open all the time, you know what I mean, as much as you can, especially at convenient times for your students. So, you can't attract your customers or your patrons if you're not open at times that are convenient for them. So, attracting them. So it's really about communicating and what you're communicating to your students as well as your teachers. It's from the first impression to like those continuous impressions all throughout the year. You have a chance to either establish a positive or a negative memory or association with the library and with you as a media specialist. And it's about making that friendly, welcoming, inviting place where people feel like, oh, I belong here. I feel seen. I feel valued. And how do you do that? Some of it's just a simple thing of what is the first thing they see when they walk into the library? What is the first thing they hear? How are you communicating that you are welcoming them? What is your physical, facial expressions, your body language? Are you creating a wall? Are you creating a bridge? Other things you can do is just even to the physical furnishings in your library. Do you have soft seating that kind of encourages people to stay? A differentiated seating, places to plug in your devices for our older students. Do you have places where people feel comfortable where they could be by themselves working or reading or creating? Maybe they're more for social, like for socially reading, like book clubs, or maybe they're creating and working on a project together. You want to attract people where they see like this is a place where I can be and where I belong.
Given some great examples of establishing that welcoming space. And since you're an established librarian, do you have any examples of how you continue to attract through some of your specific programming?
So I did mention teachers, but I didn't really give an examples of that necessarily. You do have to be friendly and you need to be willing to serve the customer service aspect. Giving the teachers at the beginning of the year a menu of your services. Something I've done is I've asked teachers, what's the lesson or the unit or the standards that you least like teaching or that the kids really struggle getting? And then I come up with ideas to where I could collaborate or be a part of that. You're starting that conversation, you're building that relationships and communicating that. So what do I do to keep them coming? Well, you could be something as simple as book displays outside the front. But for right now, my thing that I'm doing right now is we just got a book vending machine. And I really wanted to make sure that every kid got a book on their birthday. So whenever it's their birthday, they get a little yellow card and it says in English, happy birthday. It says in Spanish, happy birthday, because over 50% of our students speak Spanish as their first language. And then we are the French immersion school, so that says happy birthday in French. And then there's a little coin attached to it. And my media squad, my 4th and 5th graders that work in the morning in the library, they deliver these cards and help the preschoolers and kindergartens get their books and things like that. That they get that from the media center. So again, I'm establishing that relationship even before they get into the library. So
touching on what you said earlier, what do people see? What do people hear when they come into your space? That's why I think it's really important for school librarians to visit other school librarians and get feedback, because you walk into your space every day and you may not see some things that are unintentional, like a barrier, like a table or a display. So the flywheel, going back to that model puts in the business world, I guess, customers in the middle. And for us as libraries, it's our stakeholders, our patrons, our teachers, etc. So when we talk about the next concept on there is engage. So how do you engage with patrons to make sure they feel valued?
Okay, so engage, going back to the business model that we're adopting, the people that created a flywheel model for the marketing world, they say it's all about personalized customer service. And so again, I think once you attract those people in and you say, hey, you there's something here that you can value, then you show what can it be for specifically for them. Everything you think about is engagement. It's something where the kids are hands-on, interactive. It's something memorable. You could do it through passive programming or active programming. So something simple for my passive, I put out origami paper, maybe an example of a particular origami thing, really simple one to do, and origami books. I might have an I Spy sheets as well as my I Spy books there too, or a drawing station with drawing paper and pencils, my drawing books. And you kind of get the picture here, a solar system puzzle with all my solar system books next to it. So that sort of thing. Things I've done for engaging is I'll have a therapy dog at our school, read to me therapy dog, where the kids can read to the dog. If I had older students, I would have that therapy dog come in during exam time, so the kids, if they can come in and have a chance to kind of gain peace, de-stressing during that stressful time. Author visits are really good, and this engage thing, it doesn't have to necessarily be inside the library, but library programming can be anywhere. So that could be a virtual Beanstack challenge, as well as things inside there. Some of my hands-on stuff, I love doing STEM and literacy together. There's some fun coding projects you can do. I wrote a grant for a STEM garden. And so we have a wormery. It's basically a big giant worm composter. I call it my worm hotel.
Wait, did you say worms?
I think she said wormery. I've never actually heard of a wormery before. That might be the first time I've ever heard that word.
So I have 2,000 worms in my worm
What?
hotel. Yes, I know.
A worm hotel. Sorry, that's just funny.
I know. I got all the worms from Amazon, in case you're wondering where you buy worms. Yeah, so
you really can buy anything on
really
Amazon.
It's amazing. So, but what I love,
Okay,
yes, go on.
no, I mean, so what do you do with the worms? Is that where you're about to go?
Yes, I am.
Okay.
So the big composter, you feed them food and scraps and stuff, and they turn into compost. I mean, that's what you're doing in this big giant compost bin. With my students, I read the picture book Diary of a Worm, and it talks about like the different facts about worms, like how they like to eat paper and how their tunnels help the earth and things like that. And then I did like a nonfiction one on top of that, where they could actually see tunnels of the worms, and we could talk about some things. And then we had we've done various things where they got to feed the worms, they got to dig and see the worms wiggling.
Oh, fun.
And then we did a worm experiment, which I thought was really fun. Is we put a dry paper towel on one side of a bin and then a wet paper towel on the other side. You put the worms in the middle. And then if we put the lid over the bin, they went and got their book. They picked out their book for the day, and they came back to see where the worms went. They went to the wet side, the wet paper towel, and you could talk about ecosystem and habitats, things like that, where I feel like it comes alive. And then when I do that, also I have on display like books about worms, like creepy crawlies. And then I had also Diary of a Spider, which is kind of like a companion book to Diary of a Worm. So that's just a small example of, it's engaging, like learning comes alive, literacy comes alive. And I feel like the students and the teachers they're always coming back for more. They're always asking for more.
Yeah, great examples of engagement.
Yeah, you're finding ways for whether a student or a teacher that comes in, they're experiencing something new. That's I mean, I'm going to say repeat customer, but I know that's a business model. So that's great.
We kind of are though. Yeah. Business. We are a business in the sense of like a library is just a warehouse of books unless you have people in it.
Absolutely. So let's talk about delight and inspire. Following that same concept of momentum and that flywheel philosophy, what examples do you have of success where the momentum you have established continues to grow?
Sure. So the business model, you start with like the customers being strangers, then they're prospective customers, right? And then they become customers. And then the final stage is they become promoters or advocates for your product or your business. So that's kind of like what we want to have. We want the kids to come back, and then they come back with their friends. And then, the teachers are telling their colleagues, or the next year they're like, hey, that thing we did? Let's do that again. I really liked that lesson plan. So that's when you really know you have met what you're supposed to be doing. I know when the students are delighted, inspired, as well as the teachers. I see students talking to each other about what they're reading. So in the beginning, I'm talking to them. I'm doing the reader's advisory, and then I see them suggesting to one another, helping each other find books in the library. They're the ones writing reviews, book reviews on Beanstack, wanting to become media squad and leaders. Those are where I know that they are coming back for more. And I think really it's like the flywheel is once you get started, it just kind of keeps on going. You're continually this positive, welcoming attitude, these positive, engaging experiences. And then it just kind of keeps on spinning and spinning and spinning.
So, with the delight and inspire concept of the flywheel, you're creating word of mouth marketing from what you just described, where students may tell other students, or if you do something innovative with a teacher, they'll share with another teacher.
Exactly. But I think it goes even beyond that. Like the business model, they just use the word delight. I added the word inspire because when it's really done right, it really inspires lifelong reading. Because, you want them when they leave the school over the summer, you want them embracing that identity as a reader. Because some of our students come in, they're not seeing themselves as readers. So it goes even beyond just this word of mouth when it's done well. But yeah, that's the flywheel model.
Yeah. I mean, I think this flywheel concept really does apply nicely to library programming, starting small and then watching the momentum continue. It's really great reminders to all librarians to connect, engage, and inspire to get their desired results in their school libraries.
So, some of the successful results of your momentum that you built are your ebooks and your media squad. Can you talk a little bit more about both of those?
Sure. I have a media squad that comes in the morning to act as library leaders for our library. These are fourth and fifth graders. And when they first train these media squad kids, I tell them the most important thing is when someone comes in that you're kind and you're friendly. When you are checking out that book to them, you're not yanking the book from their hand. You're not commenting on what kind of book they're reading, unless you're saying, oh, I love that book. That's great. But we're always being kind and we're being welcoming. And there has been times when I've had to pull students aside and be like, hey, when you were talking to that person, you weren't communicating in a friendly way. I don't know if you realize that, but your tone of voice and your actions, and they go, oh, and then I see a change in their behavior. I think you have to be really implicit. It's not something that just happens. And even like my library media assistant, I said, this is the most important thing that needs to happen. When they come in, they feel seen and valued, everyone that walks through here.
We know restaurants that do that same thing. We could all
Yes.
name restaurants that make you feel seen and valued as soon as you walk in. That's great that you're teaching them that.
Yeah. And then
And what about your ebook?
yes, my ebooks. I looked the other day and my school was the top ebook checkouts for the district, one of the top elementary school. And again, it's not something that happens overnight. I think you're showing students like how to use this. And then you might have some helpers in the class that show other students how to check out these books. And you have other kids that are telling them, hey, did you see this book? This book is on the Sora platform. Again, that word of mouth, but a lot of it is intentionality. When I'm doing reader's advisory in the library and they can't find a book they want, I'll look up on Sora and I'm like, hey, it's right here on Sora if you would like to read it. Or if they're checking out a book, I'll say, oh, if you really like this book, you can download the sequel on Sora. I know it's on there. Again, just intentionality.
Great.
Congratulations on that.
Yeah,
Thank
That's
that
you.
is
great.
awesome. Thank you so much for sharing your thoughts about how the flywheel philosophy can be applied to library programming. I loved hearing your ideas about how you attract, engage, and inspire.
Yeah, so our listeners have learned two new words, right? Flywheel and wormery today. I love that. This has been a great discussion, Sarah. Oh, wait, this is Dr. Sansbury. I wish that we could make your dissertation required reading for school administrators. But can you remind our listeners where they can follow you on social media? And if I'm not incorrect, your dissertation is available on ProQuest database, correct?
That's correct. So, and also you can go to Google Scholar and just look me up, Sarah Sansbury, and it'll show all my works that I've published. So it kind of gives you an idea of where you can find the dissertation, other things. On social media, you can follow me on Blue Sky as well as Instagram. I am super Sansbury because I love alliteration
Yes, you are.
and
Yeah,
I
you
love,
are.
I love superheroes. So
I love that.
Thank you for today.
thank you.
All right, so this is just another example of how cool school librarians are. There's a lot of laughter and learning with Mrs. Dr. Sansbury. I love that her
Right.
kids called her that.
Yes,
So,
me too.
Julie, we exchanged ideas. Let's get to our recap. And I have to admit, because of her, I did a little research on the flywheel model. And we're going to share the image of her reading culture flywheel in our show notes, right?
Yep,
Okay.
absolutely.
So she used this model to demonstrate the way school libraries operate and engage.
Yeah. And, I just really wanted to start with the attract portion of the flywheel concept because she gave several examples that presented attraction.
Yeah.
So she gave the example of providing teachers with a menu of services at the beginning of the school year, book displays outside the front door, and birthday cards in English, Spanish, and French, where the book coin can be brought to the library for her book vending machine program. Once they are attracted to the library through the various advertising campaigns and events, the students spread the word.
Yeah, she talked about being approachable and your physical and emotional cues. And you've mentioned to me before that smiling was one of the most important things you did when you started your first, was that your first librarian position?
Yes. Something very simple, just smiling.
Yes, and we all know that first impressions last. So it makes me think about how elementary school librarians really do pave the way for introducing young learners to the library. And they shape how students feel about reading and learning. And is this a safe space or is this a space with a bunch of rules?
Sure. And,
Yeah.
attracting is one thing, but then once you get them there, you got to have something that engages them. So for engagement, she included things that keep learning and literacy alive while continuing to attract new patrons. So she
Mhm.
speaks about the STEM connections with literacy through the use of the Worm Hotel, which we found very entertaining. And while encouraging literacy through picture books, the students are learning about entertaining biology concepts.
I wrote a little about the wormery, and guess what? I did a little research.
Okay, all right, great.
So they're also known as worm bins, but I will not be ordering worms off of Amazon, but it's good to know that you can. But I thought, what a great example of hands-on learning for her students for inquiry. And besides having the books that they could check out about worms, they're learning about composting and ecosystems. And one more thing, flip my notes over. She also talked about the therapy dog, the READ, and that stands for Reading Education Assistance Dogs. And just to let everyone know, there are affiliate programs in every state and all over the world. So if you just go online and search 3 keywords, therapy dog read, then you can see some of these affiliates where a handler will come in with a dog and serve as a reading companion for kids.
Those are great examples. Thank you for
Yes.
sharing that. So, for the inspire part of the flywheel concept, Sarah talks about how teachers return each year for repeat lessons, and often their colleagues want to get in on the action too. She mentioned seeing students talking to other students about reading, and to me, there's nothing better than hearing your patrons share library concepts with other patrons. Students do this through conversations, but also at her school through their Beanstack reviews, which is a way that they can log their reading, and they communicate with each other through these Beanstack reviews.
So she added the word inspire to that delight area of the flywheel because it's important to nurture a love of reading. So that's what she tries to inspire with her students, and turning students and staff from a first-time visitor to a repeat patron. They're promoting your program. And at that point, Julie, the flywheel is spinning strong.
Yeah, the momentum's really going at that point.
Yeah, one more thing I wanted to say is she also has a discussion with her media assistant and her media squad and said the most important thing that needs to happen in this space, everyone who walks in here should feel seen and valued.
I love
And
that.
that kind of resonated with me too, because that type of positive climate, people remember that.
They do. It really shows that once you communicate consistently and make it part of your everyday dialogue and planning and continue to inspire student reading in all the ways that attract, engage, and delight, that the momentum keeps going with the kinetic energy that you
Yeah.
created. The flywheel concept really does make sense for library programming.
She reminded us that a library is just a warehouse of books unless you have people in it. And I think our listeners will come away with several ideas to think about before beginning their next school year. You can find her dissertation on reading culture on ProQuest database or Google Scholar, and follow her on Blue Sky and Instagram at Super Sansbury. Thank you for tuning in.
Make sure to visit our website at www.libraryexchangepodcast.com.
You'll find episode notes and links. You can even submit your questions or inspiring stories that may be featured on the podcast.
If you're looking for some swag for your library or book-loving friends, visit libraryexchange.etsy.com.
That's a lot of URLs, so I'm glad you had to say all of that, Julie.
Thanks for joining us. We can't wait to have you back for our next episode of Library Exchange.